Hello, welcome back to Sean's allotment garden. Now, over the last few days the weather's taken a dramatic turn. We've actually had some sunshine, and when the wind drops you can actually feel some heat in that sunshine, although I've still got the end of a cold, so I might sound a bit bunged up. So let's get on and do a bit of gardening. I've got the gloves, I've got the seed potatoes in the greenhouse, so let's start planting. I put this plastic on about a month ago. It just helps warm the soil up before putting the seeds in. Now today I've got Maris Piper and Swift. Now the chits are virtually non-existent, but it's time to put them in. So I'm going to put in Swift today. I'm using this Dutch bulb planter. Put it at a hand's distance apart and just pop them in. A few weeks ago I dug this bed over, and last winter I put some manure in the bottom. Just going to put a handful of bloodfish and bone, give them a bit of a feed, then just pop the potatoes in. And these will be ready in about 12 weeks. And I'll put the earth back in the hole at the end. Just so that I know where they are, I'm just going to sprinkle some bloodfish and bone on top to show the line where they are, just so that I know where to put the next lot of potatoes. So there we have it, that's the first earlies in. Got a few spare. I'll just give them away to somebody. Well, it's perfect weather for making a hanging basket. So I've got some plug plants here, and the first thing I've done is to put the hanging basket into a pot, because it stabilizes it and it makes it a lot easier to work with. So let's get in and start. This is the soil from last year, it's a bit dry. Just going to rough it up a bit and then add a few handfuls of fresh compost. The other thing I'm going to add is a handful of slow release fertilizer, just to feed it throughout the season, and just work that in to the soil. So I'm going to do these in threes. So we've got 3 fuchsias. So I'm not going to actually put them in yet. I'm just going to space them out and see how they stand. Then we've got some Sophinia petunias. Put those on the edge there. And then we've got some verbenas. Maybe put 3 of them in the middle. And then I've got some trailing geraniums, which I'll put around the side. So let's start planting. A bit busy overhead today with all the planes. In a basket you can overplant. Gives it that bushy effect. plug plants. It's a really easy way of putting a basket together, because they just turn up, you pop them in, and away you go. Try and make some form of pattern with them. And I'll keep this in the greenhouse just for a few days until I'm sure that the frosts aren't as heavy, and then I'll put it outdoors. Now onto the side. This is the tricky bit. In fact, what I'm going to do is, rather than turning it on its side, I'm just going to stick them in on the edge so that they'll cascade over. I'll get a bit of this. So it's 1, 2, and then one over here. Let's try and match it up. And there we have it. The first hanging basket of the year. Just going to put some more fresh soil on the top of it. And then I'll just pop this in the greenhouse, and then we'll come back to it in a few weeks. A few days ago I jumped on the train and headed to the seaside, down to Brighton, to meet up with a friend of mine, Kay Sexton. Kay has recently wrote a book called The Allotment Diaries. I went to find out all about it.
The new book is The Allotment Diaries, and it's a month-by-month and blow-by-blow account of life on an allotment site. So we have recipes, we have horticultural tips, and we have stories about the kind of people you find on allotments and the kind of things that they get up to, which are sometimes unusual, let's put it that way. And it was a lot of fun to write this one because I suppose I just looked around me and I was just writing about what I could see, and it was the simplest thing in the world. There are so many great stories on allotment sites, and all I had to do was sit and write them down. I feel very privileged.
The stories are based on people that you know?
They are. And one of the things that I always dread with a book launch is that there's going to be somebody sat in the front row when I start reading their story out. So far, only one person has actually recognised themselves, and they were flattered, which was a relief, because I'm not always the most polite writer. From quite a distance away, I could see him, stooping over some allotment task, and when he straightened and fixed me with his bright blue eyes, I had to remind myself to be on my guard. Felix looks like the sweetest, most innocent, naive man you could ever meet. His tanned, open face, broad smile, rolling Sussex accent and slow demeanour all combine to give the impression that he's a throwback to an earlier, more innocent generation who tilled the soil and were content to live a simple life. Nothing could be further from the truth. Felix is the biggest rogue around, always trying to get something for nothing, and constant exposure to his schemes and snares has taught me caution.
So how has it been for you this year so far?
This has not been a good year. We've got a lot of stuff started, but nothing in the ground. We're putting stuff out every day and then having to take it in every night because of the frost. So I suspect, like a lot of people, we're walking around with our fingers crossed and our long johns still on, hoping that things will catch up.
Back at the allotment, Jeff decided it was time to put the runner bean canes up. I'll be planting my beans in about a week's time. it's a fine day, so I thought I'd come outdoors. And I'm going to be doing some transplanting today of Couve Tronchuda. Now this is a cabbage, it's from the cabbage family, and I first saw this on the BBC series The Victorian Kitchen Garden back in the 80s, and the presenter Harry Dodson said that Couve Tronchuda is basically a cabbage within a cabbage. So the head of this cabbage is another head of cabbage, and the good thing about this is that it apparently doesn't smell throughout the house when you cook it. So I thought it was a worthy contender to try something new this year. So let's transplant. So all transplanting is the process of taking a seedling from its original pot into a bigger pot, because now these seedlings need a bit more space. So just fill your pot up with compost. If you need to press it down, just use the other pot. So put a bit more in, and now make a space there for it to pop in. I'm using multi-purpose compost here, and now we need to take them out. So just turn them over, press the bottom, give them a bit of a squeeze, and there, look at that root system on there. Now, and then gently break them apart. Now try not to touch the actual stem. And then just get our pot, make a big enough hole, and then just gently feed them in. Nice relaxing job this. It's not sunny, but it's dry, and there is a bit of wind, he said, as the wind started to pick up. Root systems on these are wonderful, but you do have to be careful. Look at that beautiful little plant that is. Now I'm using the dull end of the knife just in case something happens, and that's a bit too much soil in there. Let me take some out. What I'd be interested to find out this week is how many of you do seedlings, or how many of you go and buy plug plants or just buy plants. Now many years ago there used to be a bit of snobbery in gardening, that it was only true gardening if you did everything from seed. But now, because people are busy, I don't see that being a problem in people buying in plug plants. But there is something rewarding and satisfying about doing things from seed. Now the bugler could do with a bit of a spring clean. If you see, this is all the wood that flowered last year. These are the new green shoots. So it's a case of just looking down the old wood to where the new shoots are, and then just cutting it above a leaf joint. Oh, there's another one. Where's the... there it is there. Buckley is great for attracting bees and everything into the garden. There we go. So that's freshened up and just raring to go with a bit of sunshine. The same thing to do with the aster as well. All the new shoots are starting to come up, so just be very careful as you cut back the old growth. You can do this after it's flowered, but I like to leave it until the springtime, because the dead foliage helps to protect the plant in the winter, and it also helps for you to identify where it is in the garden. Look at all those shoots, they'll just jump up with a bit of sunshine.
Sweet peas are nice and sturdy at the moment, so I'm just going to transplant these and put these into the cold frame, and then in a few weeks I'll plant them outside.
What is hardening off? Well, that's simply the process of acclimatizing the plants that you've kept in the warmth to the temperatures outside. Because if I put these plants straight outside, then they'll just die because they aren't acclimatized to the temperatures. So all it involves is putting the plants either outdoors or into a cold frame, then bringing them back in the evening, and then doing that for a few days. And I'll judge the weather how it is, and I'll do it for at least a minimum of 7 days.
Other jobs I've done on the allotment this week is to plant some foxgloves. And also I created a new bed, and this is where I'm sowing my night-scented stock. If you want scent in the garden, I would highly recommend that you try night-scented stock. It's wonderful. I'm broadcasting the seeds, which means that I'm basically just scattering them over the ground with no real direction to them. I also moved the last of the manure that I had delivered a couple of months ago. That's now safely on my plot. This side of the allotment is now finished. The work over the next couple of months will be focusing on the left-hand side, cleaning it, getting rid of all the junk that's underneath the plastic, and then cultivating it and putting some seeds in.
Well, it's a perfect ending to another busy day on the allotment. It's about 7:30 in the night, birds are singing, we've had a nice sunset, and it's starting to get dark, so it's time to finish my tea and then head off home. I'd be interested to find out when your last frost date is. Mine is the second week in May, so in the comments box below, put when your last frost date is. It's good to be down here in the evening and listen to the birds. I'll see you next week.